Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to your Trading Week wrap-up. It is the Friday edition of the Trader Merlin Show. Cheers to you all. Hope you had a fantastic day. Today was a good day for me. A little nervous yesterday on some of my option trades, but we'll walk you through the conclusion of those and how they came to fruition and the new trades I put on here a little bit later on. So cheers, everybody. In case you're wondering, I guess New York City's oldest distillery, this is called, what is this one called? This is Kings County Distillery is what they're drinking today. Got to get rid of some of these bottles. I got too many bottles on my shelf, and like I told you, I kind of cut back my drinking. So, Big Ed says, is this the last show for a while? No, I'll do a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. No, I'm doing all next week. Well, not all next week. I will do shows Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Not 100% sure on Wednesday, but certainly I'll do a show Monday and Tuesday, 22nd, 23rd. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, very interesting day. Don't worry, Big Eb. If you have to go somewhere, I understand you can miss a show. You have permission. No, I'll try to do those shows. I have positions open, so I may as well do some shows to talk about it. Markets will be moving anyway. Although next week, honestly, is a pretty boring week. There's almost nothing on the earnings front. The really only big day for next week is going to be Tuesday. You have preliminary GDP, and then we have this durable goods orders number, which is really... I'm kind of confused. Maybe I'll talk about that on Monday. Not confused, but just suspect of the data and report that we're getting. I'll talk about that on Monday's show. So there we go. Caminos is in Peru. Well, welcome, Caminos. Welcome to the show. I haven't seen your name before. Hope you're enjoying it from the Southern Hemisphere. It's on the list of places to go. I got to get down to Peru one of these days. Okay, I will just dive right into today's markets and questions that came through. I'm going to start really with the data from today. So this is from Les G, who's not here with us today. He's out with family, so I hope you have a great day with your family, Les, but I'm sure you'll watch the recording as you are a diehard for the show. He says, I do have a question about the CPI report from yesterday. From what I was reading, some of the sections without data were recorded as 0. I also read that some numbers were used that started later in November when prices were being discounted for the holidays. What insight can you provide to this report? Well, I would say my bottom line insight here is I'm not trusting the numbers, right? I'm just not believing the CPI numbers or anything for the next couple months. I believe the government shutdown will cause a bit of disruption in accuracy with the data. For those who are listening to podcasts, I'm facetiously saying accuracy with air quotes here because we are all left to believe that this data is 100% accurate, 100% truthful, and I'm pretty sure we all agree that it is absolutely not 100% accurate and probably not 100% truthful. So the fact that some data pieces were missing from the CPI number that came out yesterday should be concerning. And basically what it means to me is I'm just not going to trust the data that comes out. So for now, at least for next week, we talk about the durable goods orders and GDP numbers on Tuesday. I think it's important to look at that and say, okay, I'm not so concerned with which way the number is going to come out. I just want to make sure I am aware of when those numbers are released and the times they're released so I don't get caught up in market whipsaw. Because it's all very speculative. And as someone who is speculative by nature and seen so many shady things go on in the financial markets, I find it incredibly hard to believe that you're telling me with a good degree of accuracy what the average price of goods and services has changed in multiple locations across the country. I just don't believe that it could be done and accurate. So I would discount it altogether, and I'll go to that announcement from last week here. Let me bring it up real quick. Let's go to our later in the week CPI number. Sorry for the doom scrolling here. That was Thursday. It looks fantastic, right? We had 3.0 was the previous number, and of course that's going to be year over year. They are expecting it to be 3.1, meaning showing slight inflation, but the number actually showed much less at 2.7%. And if they aren't reporting things, why should those get a 0? They should be omitted from the document altogether and not counted as a 0. 0 implies no inflationary change whatsoever, and that's not necessarily true. They just didn't have data. So if you have, let's just say you have 100 items that you're calculating from, and 10 of those you don't have data for, if you put those all at zeros, it's going to skew that number proportionally lower. You should just keep those out of that report and make it 90 points of data until you actually have all the data. So I didn't dig through it less like you did to see what was marked as zeros, but that's inaccurate reporting. If you're a scientist, someone would laugh at you because your calculations are going to be completely screwed up because of that data. Now, what will happen? In the next reading, if we do get those data points filled in, what you're probably going to see is a much higher than reported CPI number, because this is discounting things. And if we get those numbers put in, you might get a 3.2, 3.3 number at the January reading of CPI. So pretty much, I don't buy it. I don't believe it. Bottom line is, you look at where the number is, and what does this mean? It means that the Fed can pat themselves on the back, right? They take a victory lap for 2026 because they've kept inflation under control. They've cut rates 3 times. Markets seem to be doing pretty well. We're near all-time highs for most of the broad market indexes. Now, granted, a lot of commodities are surging, particularly metals, but oil is drifting lower. For all intents and purposes, as Bill Addis would say, they should take a victory lap, and they should. But I don't think that the problems have been solved. They've been masked. They've been masked, A, by manipulated data, B, by rate cuts, which juice the market near the end of the year and give you a little bit of a sense of hope. So yeah, I'm not sold on it, Les. My insight would simply be, you guys should never trust CPI, PPI, ADP, non-farm employment change, unemployment rate, you name it. All the data that comes out, always think that it's cooked. Now, for me, I like to focus on trends. And if we look at the trend that's going on here, this is the consumer price index. Oops, let me get that back there. This is the consumer price index numbers. Over the past few months, from May of this year, it's been getting progressively higher and higher and higher as a year-over-year reading. Well, that trend should have continued. But if we are getting 0 points data, that's obviously going to shift this one lower. So I'm really curious to see what happens in January. As you guys know, I'm actually writing another article right now for Trading Academy, which discusses the phenomenon of the mantra that says, as goes January, so goes the end of the year. So that's 75% of the time it works, believe it or not. If January is a positive month, 75% of the time the equity markets close the year higher. Lo and behold, what do we have this year? Well, we had January close higher. Right? It was a slightly higher year, and it started off, January was strong, positive. Then we had a few months where things started to sell off, and then markets have just been gangbusters ever since. So, data driven. All right, what did Big Eb say back there? What would be accurate is my question. What would you believe? I don't think I would believe anything, Big Eb. I don't think I would believe anything. Again, I've interviewed people that work for these agencies, and when I heard what they said, I don't think I would ever trust the data that comes out. Unless I'm actually doing the data collection myself, I don't trust it. This goes back to a lot of traders. Well, people in the industry I know that trade, because what happens is a lot of people will claim that they're doing really well, they claim they're doing really successful, and they're making all this money, but when you look at their statements or their taxes, you would see, oh, they're actually losing money. They're not doing trading successfully. So you're kind of having to take people's word for their success or skill sets in these marketplaces, and there's a lot of charlatans out there. Government's no different. Government's going to want to manipulate the data to benefit their agenda and help push things through. I saw an interesting one today. Well, it always goes back and forth where the Democrats hate the Republicans and Republicans hate the Democrats. It's just kind of annoying, honestly. Let's just all work together to achieve a common goal. But misrepresentation of data. The big graphic going around right now, some of you have probably seen on social media, is they break apart the inflation rate by president. And of course, when Biden took office in 2021, well, late 2020, we were in the midst of a full-on pandemic. And at that point, we'd already pumped in $14 trillion into the market. That happened before Biden took office. You pump $14 trillion into the market, that's what creates inflation. Everyone's like, well, it was Biden's fault. It's like, that's a misrepresentation of data. So, yeah, trust but verify. Always look at the data and try to break it down for your purposes. But yeah, I don't trust. That's why I'd post my trade confirmations, proof. Yeah, but even, Mickey, even if you do that, here's another big thing. How do I say this as safe as possible? I have known people that are used to be pretty big names. I think people kind of caught on to this individual and slammed him down. What this guy would do is he would buy 1,000 shares of Apple long in one account, and he'd go over to another account, and he would short 1,000 shares of Apple. So at the end of the day, this guy made no money. Right? None. Because in one account, he's making money if it went up, and he would be losing in the short account, or vice versa. So what this kid would do, might be giving away too much, he would go out and brag and boast about how amazing his trading was, and he would simply show you whichever trading account was working that day. The truth was he wasn't making any money. He was just boasting to people how good he was. So I don't even trust statements. There was a guy in Austin, Texas. He had taken Trading Academy's courses. He's a registered student at Trading Academy. And what this guy did is a couple years after he took the classes, he went into TradeStation. And TradeStation has a strategy tester. So you can go into a strategy tester and put in all the different strategies you want. You want a moving average crossover, you want to do an ADXs crossing the DI line, whatever indicator you want, you can build a strategy and backtest it for X amount of years and say, okay, let's say I started this strategy 2 years ago with $100,000. Where would we be? Look, I can guarantee you any amount of money you want, I can find a strategy that will probably give me 10x rate of return in a year. 10x. Problem is I didn't take those trades. And these people will run the simulator, keeping it in paper trading. It's just simulated ideas, and say, "Oh, I turned my $100,000 into $1 million in a year." And then they'll show the statements like they made these trades. But most people don't know that it's done with simulator. So, it drives me nuts. The only truth you have is from people you know and trust, that you know are legit. And I try to surround myself with those people. Honestly, I really push people away from me that I know are fake BS, and there's way too many of them. It was transitory inflation. That's it. Transitory inflation. Hey, it seems that way now, doesn't it? Seems that way now. That's gone. It'll never come back. Because I agree. The only reason we focus on it is a lot of people believe it. Right. Not only that a lot of people believe it, I would say it's that a lot of people react to it. Right? React to it. Man, I have all these. You guys know I'm usually the master of just terrible analogies, but whether data is real or not, people will react to it the same way. For example, if I'm in a movie theater and I pull out a loaded .45 Magnum, people are going to react the exact same as if I bring out a fake gun. They're going to treat it the same way. I think markets are that. Most of what at least I believe most of what I do is I'm looking at how people are reacting to certain situations, whether that's a demand zone, a supply zone, whether that's an earnings announcement, whatever. Many times those things get fear-driven or greed-driven, and that presents opportunity. And economic data is a major catalyst for that. So while I don't trust or believe any of this crap that we look at here on a daily basis from an economic announcement perspective, I can certainly expect that at 8:30 this morning we're going to see significant yesterday, we were going to see significant volatility based off of the CPI release. And so to me, that's it. You're watching people react to it. And if you can gauge how people react to things, then that presents opportunity. So that's my statement. React to it with bias, cheerleading for the red or blue team. Yeah, or whatever team I'm on, the team I'm cheering on, right? All right. Transitory for endless years. So, Les, that's the first start there is about the CPI numbers. Again, it's same thing with the employment numbers that come out. I don't trust them. I'm with the green team as well. Let's go green. Green's neutral. It's happy. Yeah, we don't need to be a red or blue team. All right, let me real quickly run through these trades, and I'll go through. Actually, I'll save my trades for the end of the show, and then I will. I didn't update. I have one screen I need to update. I am gold team with the last 6 months. Good. Gold team's good. Team gold or team silver. Either one. Silver was ridiculous again today. Let's check out Team SLV as I take another sip of this fine New York whiskey. Look at silver again today. Unbelievable. Ken says no personal integrity in these agencies. Well, from their perspective, I guess the key, Ken, is do you really know what they're doing? Are they being good and honest and fair and truthful, or are they being politicized, motivated through financial incentives to say things that are one way or the other? I don't know that, right? My gut tells me, in all my experience in the financial markets, that the only thing maybe more corrupt than government could be financial markets, or I would say the misuse and representation of religion. Financial markets are brutal with regards to corruption and deceitfulness. So it would not surprise me at all to see a lot of these agencies, exactly, trust but verify, but who can verify? Unless you work at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you're not going to know whatever data they put out. So we just have to accept what it is, take it at face value. I always believe that it's adjusted, manipulated, but I'm not hanging my hat on a CPI number or anything like that. I'm looking for the longer term trends, and even that could be manipulated as well. All right, let's go back to our bottom, start at the bottom. Surprisingly near the bottom today, and of course, this is a rarity what you see on your screen here. All of it was green. Great day, no matter what you were in, unless you were short. Everything was green today, which is a rarity, right? You don't usually see everything all green like this because the dollar index should have an inverse on the markets, so should bonds, but they were all up today. Fantastic. Here's your dollar index. You had that long bottoming tail on the dollar that goes all the way back to this demand zone from, don't even start, Big Ed, with CoreWeave. Don't even get me going. I'm going to have to finish this whole bottle of whiskey by myself. Thanks, Big Ed. This long tail we had from Tuesday's trading action came right down towards that demand zone, and then since then we've been ripping up on that dollar index. So I'm curious how this is going to impact the markets. We had a really nice rally today. A lot of that based off of some of the things that Trump had said. There were some actions today from Trump that may have sparked another surge up in the AI companies, and particularly CoreWeave and NVIDIA. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Next on our list was gold. A good finish today. We had that little hesitation pattern yesterday as it broke through all-time highs, and now today we're closing. By the way, this is the highest closing price in history for gold. Just let that sink in. In the course of time, gold has never been at a higher price. This is pretty phenomenal. So for those of you holding gold coins like myself, give yourself a nice pat in the back. This looks pretty strong from a trend perspective. Remember, we had this drawn as like a pennant formation, and it keeps following my mantra, which is my favorite. I said my mantra. I do not. Maybe I should try to patent that one. Just get a copyright on it, even though I didn't create it. That trend is your friend till the bend at the end. We had a decent pullback in gold, but that trend is gorgeous. Right now, closing just pennies away from the all-time high that was established back on October 20th, but we had a new one established yesterday. So we closed at 4,387 on gold futures. That was up 0.5%, and I will adjust this line to show you the all-time high number, and I have a feeling we're going to keep on moving this line. It just keeps on trucking higher and higher. All-time high in the futures is 4409.5. Love it. Fantastic move there. Now, 10-year bond. This was good. We can also talk about some of the housing data that came out today, which showed some optimism. I'm going to start with that actually and go to today's trading activity of the existing home sales. So you notice that the numbers here are a bit conflicting. So what you had was 411 million homes sold, existing home sales the previous month. They expected it to jump to 4.15 million. We missed that. We did not reach that level, but we came in at 4.13. So there was, 20,000 more homes sold than anticipated, which is good, right? You certainly want to see things move to the upside, move to the upside, move to the upside. And the trend here is good. It's not aggressive. It's not like a super trend by any stretch, but the fact that for the last, 5 out of 6 months, the reading has been increasing, this is very good, right? We want to see more homes sold. More homes sold means more demand for homes. Typically, that drives prices up. When home prices go up, typically that means that people have more implied wealth. Maybe they refinance, take money out of their home, buy stuff with it, which they shouldn't do unless they're going to buy more homes and continue to lock in that equity. But this is a good sign for anybody who owns a home. If you're a renter, I'm sorry, because typically this means that rental prices are going to continue to increase, which could squeeze more and more people. So it's a double-edged sword here, depending on whether you're a homeowner or a renter. I would encourage you to own a home. Good thing to do. Lower rates will help. Lower rates will help, and we'll see if we get there, Big Eb, on the rate front. So the 10-year is not helping that at 0.61%. We saw it hesitate there at 4.2. Thought we'd have a little bit of a pullback, which we did. Now the question is this it? Is this the extent of the pullback from that overhead red line you see at 4.2% on that 10-year? I don't know. Again, you got Bill Addis, who is pretty adamant that he feels rates are going to go higher and higher and higher. Well, if they do, then we might see some pressure on equities and housing if that rate continues to move up. But don't worry, we'll have 50-year mortgages soon. Can't believe it. All right, in fifth place, Russell 2000. Technically, I don't see anything here that's that significant other than thanks that we bounced, right? It's 0.68% move up today for the Russell, 2,545.9. S&P was fourth place. This is a little bit better. I don't need to keep that yellow box there anymore. That one's done. What you're having here is just a lot of chop, a lot of difficulty. This week was a tough trading week for me. just because one day I look to go short and the markets rally up. Next day I look to go long, markets go screaming back down. So it was a tough whipsaw from my day trading side of things. My swing trades were great, which I'll share with you here in just a second. But today's action for the S&P, great. It really put us into positive territory. If we didn't get today's green candle, we would have a red candle for the week. And as it turns out, these last 2 days for equity indexes have been fantastic. Pushed us to an up week, which if we go back and look at the weekly time frame is a pretty impressive chart. All right, we keep making higher highs, higher lows. I mean, this trend is absolutely phenomenal on the S&P for the weekly. So thank goodness for the last 2 days worth of trading. And it definitely saved my hide a little bit, particularly with Bitcoin, which we'll get to here in just a second. Third place, bronze metal, crude oil. Oh boy, I don't know what to do here with crude oil. I'll be honest. I was of the opinion that we would hold this yellow zone and bounce out of it. Then we broke below it. I'm like, okay, well here we go. We're gonna be headed lower towards this next demand zone, which is gonna be down around 53 bucks. And then literally the next day, we bounced back up. So I don't know. I'm confused on crude oil. Luckily I'm not in it. Otherwise it would be whipsawing me like crazy. But I will say, I still feel like that trend that we're seeing is down. And I think that's pretty clear and evident here. Now, maybe we get a little bounce back up, but overall, I think you got a pretty clear downtrend here. We could throw on moving averages on this bad boy. This is what, a 20? 40. Maybe I stretch that to a 50. I was going to try to incorporate into some of these peaks that we have that go a little bit further back, but you know, we're hugging that 50 somewhat, so it would not be surprising to see a bounce back up there. But overall, that trend has been down, and it's been curled and down since August, which is a pretty bearish sign. Big Up says, well, when I get to the NASDAQ, we'll talk about that one, which is right now. So here we have the NASDAQ, which was saved by NVIDIA today. I think was saved by NVIDIA. I think Micron was a good factor to that. I didn't think it would be as significant, but Micron, I think, clearly painted a good picture for AI and demand for AI-related chips and products. We have an interesting formation going on. This is relatively the same as what we saw the other day with gold. Right, we have this kind of weakening across the top for the NASDAQ 100. You're not making the same highs. And you also have across the bottoms, it's showing strength and compressing. Now, this is a little bit more pronounced than the one we saw with gold. Gold was a little bit more of a narrow pennant formation. But right now, if you're trading the NASDAQ 100, you know, this to me is what you got to be looking at from a zone perspective and a trend perspective. The challenge for next week, everyone, is that zone right above you for the NASDAQ. Not only is it that yellow supply zone, a little bit higher up. I mean, I kind of, for me personally, I'd modify it to be right about here. But notice that's going to coincide almost perfectly with this downtrend line across those peaks. So we'll see what happens next week. We open up Sunday night. My guess is we'll probably get a gap up towards that line, and we'll see if it holds or that supply zone holds and pushes things back down. But right now, great moves up for the NASDAQ, and I see you guys putting a lot of names in there. Well, let's first talk about NVIDIA before I get to my top market for the day. You know, NVIDIA has had this really sharp downtrending line. Today we broke through that. And again, why was it? It's because Trump has basically said, okay, first I let NVIDIA sell their H20 chips to China. And that was like, oh, wow, a big market. But those aren't the most powerful chips. And now Trump is saying they can sell the H200 chips to China, which is like their most powerful chip. But in exchange, the government's going to get 25%. I think isn't that extortion? Would that be the definition of extortion where you're I don't know. It just seems like, okay, well, you can do business internationally, but you got to pay us to do it. I don't know. That just seems kind of shady. But anyway, that was, I think, one of the big reasons we saw NVIDIA up 3.9%. It's like, okay, now the doors have dropped to China for their most expensive products. That probably is a smart move from President Trump, because now that makes China feel like, okay, you know, now we're going to be able to get the good stuff. Remember, before there was angst from China that we were holding back the good technology. So NVIDIA certainly sounds like extortion. I don't know what the definition of extortion is, but boy, it does feel that way. Like, okay, if you want to do this, which is going to save your business and not save it, but make it amazing, you got to pay us. There you go. Just like Trump, not to mention forcing them to give Intel $5 billion, right? And by the way, the Justice Department agreed to that as well. So that also fueled NVIDIA's rally, right? NVIDIA got the green light from the antitrust department for that $5 billion deal investing in Intel. So we're getting a little bit of cross-nesting here again. It was in the AI space. Now it feels like it's in the chip space. Very interesting stuff. But I think that you can all thank Trump today and the Justice Department or the Antitrust Department for those comments, because that's what really vaulted tech today. I think without those two announcements today, we probably had a down day and things would not have been great. I think we would have seen a little bit of a drift down here, but great move up in NVIDIA. Some of you mentioned PLTR, right? Palantir, solid move today. Breaking out, actually coming right into this origin of this big move down. So I'd be cautious right around $95. But here we are at 193.38. Great move there. Let's not look at Oracle yet. What was the other one that I wanted to mention? Oh, Merlin, come on. I get so many names in my head today. It's driving me crazy. I'll forget. Let's just go look at Oracle. I almost pulled the trigger again today for the second day on Oracle on selling some puts, but I didn't. I decided not to. I've been, again, super hesitant. Steve says, NVIDIA's my biggest holding. Hey, yeah, I'm sure you are. Yeah, I mean, today, you know, whether you are pro-Trump or anti-Trump, Steve, doesn't matter. Just raise a glass and go, thanks, bud. Thanks for helping me out today. Micron. Thanks, Dan. That's what I was going to look up Micron. My brain's a little fuzzy here today. Micron, on their earnings announcement, you know, they jumped up today, even a further continuation of that. The way we closed yesterday for Micron made me think we were going to see more downside movement. We had the earnings reported after hours on Wednesday. We gapped up. And then we had a real big rally and then gave back most of it. It felt like profit taking came in near the end of the day, end of the session. Today, we shrugged all that off. And I think that, again, this has a lot to do with the NVIDIA deal. With NVIDIA now being able to sell the H200 chips, it's just a nod of confidence to anybody in AI in that chip space. Micron reaping rewards, especially with the statement they said about unprecedented demand for their AI products and chips. Love it. 6.99%. I've been meaning to go take a picture. It's funny. My neighbor down the street, I think I mentioned this before, he works for Micron. And I've been joking that if the stock price keeps going up, he's going to have to put a second story on his house because he's got a couple of kids and he's got a little one-story home. So I'm going to walk by after the show today, take a picture of his house, and have AI make a second story on it, see how good it looks. I'll let you know. Micron feeling lofty to me, just saying, yeah, but I mean, if you look at the chip segment, let's put SMH on top of Micron. So SMH is a semiconductor ETF. And granted, it's got a bunch of different companies in there. But just to show you from a performance perspective, if you go back to the beginning of the year, you know, chips have been doing well. So here's really the whole year. You're looking at the SMH. The entire index is up about 47%. And here's Micron up about 140%. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I mean, that's great. Fantastic. But really the big separation started back in September. And I don't know exactly why that is. I'm not a chip expert, so please don't hold that against me. I'm not someone who studies the different mechanics and technologies that these different companies are using and how many nanometers their wafers are. I don't really pay too much attention to that. I'm just concerned with price action. And right now, Micron, while I agree with you, Steve, looks a little bit long in the tooth. I don't know what they're doing, but apparently they're doing something right. There you go, Big Ollie. You got it. Yep. Thank you, Daddy Trump, for pushing this up big time. Now, not all things look like this, right? Let's look at Intel. Here's Intel against the semiconductors. It's also beating. What about AMD? Oh, that's AMC. AMD does not look like that. AMD also well above performance from the semiconductor, but only up about, this is from July. I mean, all these guys look so good. 100% since September. Let me go look at that one real quick. So I just got to zoom out here and get my basis. Yeah, 100% since September. Phenomenal. Tech's running hot. We said this in January, right, Jeff? We said that this is the catalyst that's been driving everything's been tech. And at some point, you know, I anticipated it slowing down a little bit, and it felt like it did for a second. But now all of a sudden we're back onto, full throttle the upside. If you look at what the S&P is doing right now, let's take this off here. Come on. And go from the beginning of the year, we're still just barely positive for the year. I remember, and I actually anticipated us being slightly up for the year. Well, if we were to end today, the S&P would only be up 0.27%, like just barely. But this has been a kind of a wild ride. It's been a very volatile December, choppy as all heck, and that's why I'm scaling back and kind of taking things a little bit easy as I get near the end here. Of course, I've got just a few more days before I take off for a couple of weeks, but I will probably trade while I'm over in Thailand. Alex says, why when talking chips, NVIDIA, AMD, TAN, but ASML is always missing? Don't they make all the chips for each one of those? I mean, you can certainly put that in there. I got no problem with ASML. It's an ADR. but that doesn't make too big of a difference, right? This depository receipt, yeah, ASML looks absolutely fantastic. So sure, I mean, we could definitely throw that in the comparison. This is why I recommend that if you are getting into the chip space, you should just buy like SMH or some ETF that is a portfolio of tech, of chip makers, just because I don't know. I think they're all going to do fairly well, but I'm not smart enough to go through the balance sheets and product lines and figure out which one's going to be the king. I'm just not. It's not my skill set. I know some of you are really specialists in that area. Great. I did meet a guy at. I did meet a guy. It's funny, Oliver. You said SMH, and SMH means shakes my head. So I know what you mean. You're talking about SMH, the ETF, but it shakes my head. It's kind of like, yeah, Merlin, you know what you're talking about. I met a guy in Vegas at one of the money shows, and he actually was a big time chip developer for Broadcom. And I thought about having him on the program, but I don't know if he would be a good guest. Some people just aren't great guests. All right, back to our list. I want to get to the very top here. So the saving grace today, at least for me, really, this definitely really saved my hide, and I'll tell you why in just a second, because I had MicroStrategy puts, or sold MicroStrategy puts. We had a pretty nice rally in Bitcoin today. It was up $3,000 per Bitcoin, up 3.82%, closing the day on the futures market at 88,060. The picture doesn't look great. Even though this is a nice day, this is nothing to cheer about for anybody who holds crypto. It does not look great. It feels like maybe we're forming a base or a bottom on this bad boy. It really depends on what's going to happen over the weekend, and can we get above this yellow zone that I've got drawn? I should probably make that zone more appropriate. It would be about there. Until we get above 95,000, I'm not that excited. That's 7,000 away. That's another 7% gain from current levels before we get there. So I'm still in that bearish camp. I love it because on my trade sheet, told you I've been selling puts on MicroStrategy, which I know you guys don't need to tell me. I know how risky and dangerous this bad boy is. I'm totally fine with that. I had sold the 160s last week, and yesterday we were down below it, and I've got a good amount. So this is enough to make your stomach turn a little bit when things really fall like they do with MicroStrategy. Those expired worthless. So here is the trades that I have currently. You can see I had the 160 puts on MicroStrategy. Those expired today. I collected $1.73, so that's about a 1.1% rate of return for a week. I sold today again MicroStrategy, and I know that that's really aggressive, but I'm okay with that. And the premium, as you can see, I collected there was $2.15. So I sold the 155s. I'll show you on the chart here. I sold the 155s expiring next Friday. Remember, markets are closed on Thursday, and there's a half day on Friday. So, I'm basically selling 3.5 days worth of time here. So we'll see. Going back to the empty well. I wouldn't know if I'd call it an empty well. It bit me in November. MicroStrategy bit me hard in November, and it's okay. It's fallen a lot since then. I mean, I got out of my MicroStrategy at 315. I mean, that's up here. Thank goodness I'm out at 350. I'm literally buying back 50% lower. We all know it's risky, Big Eb, or Ollie, absolutely. Granted, this is not a majority of my portfolio. Right now, the largest position I have right now is that Amazon. So I also sold calls against my position on Amazon today. It was kind of surprising to see how quickly this thing fell at the close. I don't know if you guys saw, Amazon just got crushed in the last 10 minutes of the market. But I sold the 237.50 calls expiring Friday. I only collected 33 cents, so it's literally 0.15%, not much at all. But it is, an extra $450 or $500 worth of premium that I'll collect there. That's fine. If you look here on Amazon, let me put some lines on here so we know exactly where I'm at. I have not updated my cost basis, or I would share that with you guys. Let's see. I got the calls at 237.50, and the reason I did so far up is I just feel like we're gonna run. I've been of the impression that Amazon's gonna have a nice little holiday surge here. So I don't want my shares to get taken away. So I was just adding a little bit of extra in case we do get a rally. If it does rally from 227 up to 237, that's $10. I got 1,500 shares. That would be about another $15,000 on that position profit. So I'd be happy with that. But I really don't want to get rid of this. I want to keep my Amazon into next year. I think going into January, it'll probably be a pretty good run for Amazon. But check out this fall here. I thought this was kind of wild. The last 10 minutes. Everything was going great, but look how much it fell. I had volume on here. Somebody just dumped a couple big positions. It went from trading maybe 20 or 30,000 shares to all of a sudden it traded 170,000 shares in a 5-minute window. That pushed price of Amazon down. In 5 minutes, it fell only 1%. But still, that's a pretty quick intraday drop like that. I don't know if I call it manipulation. It's probably somebody just saying, hey, I need to get out of my 150,000 shares of Amazon. What price do you want? Just do a market order. All right, boom, market sell, creator's price, because liquidity that big is a little bit low. Bezos needs to buy a new booster for the Blue Origin. Maybe. He's taking some profits there, Dan. Launch his wife up into space again with all of the pop stars. I don't know. That felt to me like it was total fake. It was Bezos. He needs divorce money. Again, look, if Bezos is smart at all, he's got this thing called a prenup. Yeah, big liquidation for Christmas gifts. Look, Bezos is smart enough to know that if you are going to sell a big block, you would never sell it all at once like this. A lot of platforms, if you guys have ever used an institutional platform, I was fortunate enough years ago to work with some institutional trading platforms. There's a feature called a slicer. So let's say that Jeff Bezos wants to sell, 200,000 shares. You would never do a market sell. You would just be wild to do that. What you would do is you would say, okay, over the course of today's trading day, right? I'll do the calculations here, see if I can figure it out for you live as we do this. But let's say he wants to sell 200,000 shares, right? So there's 200,000 shares. And it's a 6.5 hour trading day, so he divides that by 6.5. So now you're selling basically 30,000 shares an hour. And if each hour is, let's say, 60 minutes, I want to do every 5 minutes. So I'm going to divide that by 12. I can send an order that every 5 minutes, for every 5 minutes of the trading day, sell 2,564. That's how they'll do it. They'll sell a slicer here. And these slicer orders are pretty cool. And they'll do it at market. 2,564 shares shouldn't crush the market. But when you sell 100 plus thousand, yeah, that's going to have a big impact. Yeah. So anybody who knows their game at all would never, ever sell a big block of shares like that, unless it's just total desperation. So yeah, slicer is a pretty common feature for institutional order flow. This to me, it feels like this is just somebody who has a Schwab account and just had a ton of it and just dumped it. I just don't see an institution. Why would you create that kind of wave? I mean, that's a lot of money. It only fell $2, but still $2, on a big block of shares is a lot of money added up. A lot cheaper than a regular commission, or a lot more expensive than a regular commission. All right, so I've shared those trades that's all the ones I had today. So yeah, I've got the 155 MicroStrategy expiring next week. I got Amazon calls at 237.50. All the other stuff expired worthless. Let me just update my table here for you, because I know you guys all I think you like when I show you this stuff. And again, this is just this one account. I have many, but I'm only showing you one account just for transparency purposes. Here is the average price. So I just need to take 33 cents off of this, and that will get, there you go. Drop 33 cents off of this, which would make it 63 cents. So there's my average price, is 63, 219.63. I wanted to get more premium. I was really hoping I could get more. Unfortunately, it's just, I don't know. I didn't want to get too close to current price. I want to let it run, and I think that as we get near the tail end of the week, we'll see it run. You guys were asking me also about I saw some Santa Claus rally questions there. Well, when you look at the calendar, bring it up here, talking last 5, first 2, right? Last 5 are going to be, Monday, Tuesday, and let me really quickly bring this up here. 1 second. I just want to verify something very quickly, because sometimes there's half days, sometimes there's incomplete days. So New Year's Eve, markets are not closed. I just want to verify that one. Sometimes I always think that New Year's Eve they're closed. So we've got a half day on the 26th, closed on the 25th. So if you go to a number of days here, we have officially for the rest of the year, you've got the 29th, the 30th, the 31st. There's 3. You have a half day on the 26th, and you have the 24th. So really, starting on Wednesday the 24th is when the Santa Claus rally should come to fruition. Markets are going to be closed on January 1st, which means you're going to look at January 2nd and January 3rd will be that Santa Claus rally. So let's see if it comes to fruition. While I'm in Thailand or wherever I end up going, and maybe I'll go to Cambodia, I'm not sure, I will try to update through social media. Nobody made any suggestions on what you want to see on social media, so I'm not going to do anything. Social media will do nothing there. No changes. We'll just keep it as is. Meta and Tesla tanked as well at the end of the trading day. Yeah, what was... There was some Tesla news today. Of course, it seems like every day there's some damn Tesla news. It just drives that things wild. But let's just go look at the Magnificent Seven. Since we're on that page, I don't know if I would call it tanked. No, tanked. I mean, come on, down less than 1%. I mean, we were getting a little ahead of ourselves there. No, I wouldn't call that tanking. Especially, look at the volume for. Well, this is Meta. Meta was down. Was the worst performer, down 0.85%. Meta had huge volume today and barely moved. That's interesting. That to me is very interesting. That normally when you have a big candle of volume like that, it's like double normal volume for Meta. You would expect it to have fallen much further than that. Now Tesla, wouldn't call this tanking at all. I would call this just teetering at all-time highs. No, this looks good. You want a live stream from the beach? You realize that the live stream would be at 5 a.m. for me in Thailand. To match this time here at 2 p.m., I'd be 5 a.m. in Thailand. Maybe. I just don't see that happening. I still have to set up my new laptop. I have a new laptop that I got that I'm going to, or maybe I'll just bring my old one, but it's heavier and cumbersome. But I'll probably bring my new laptop. And maybe I'll transfer over these templates and layouts and see what I can get for you guys or build something there. But I can't see me wanting to do a live stream from the beach in Thailand. Big episode. I think profit taking before Christmas holiday vacation. I sold out some stuff in the last 10 minutes too. I have my alerts. Do it midday. I'm gonna try to keep to the same time. I can't imagine. Well, we'll see. I'm not gonna rule out a show, but no offense, my focus will not be on doing this show. My focus is gonna be on myself and reflecting and trying to manifest positive thoughts. I have so many things I've been trying to get done. It's funny. I really do think that my past relationship that I was in handcuffed me and limited me or prevented me from getting things done because I felt like I was always doing things for my partner. And now that that's gone, I'm like, okay, well, why don't we optimize more? So I have a bunch of things I need to get done, and hopefully I will map all out my roadmap for 2026 while I'm at a beach in Thailand at a resort somewhere having a great time. So I'll let you know. What did you get for a laptop? I'm looking for it's a ThinkPad Quantum X. Work got it for me. Same road first person. Aw, sorry, Oliver. That's a tough one. You're obviously a lot older. I can tell you what helped me when my mom passed away. I was much younger when my mom passed away, and December 28th is the day that she died, and it's like this time of year is not my favorite time of year. I'm literally getting on an airplane the day my mom died, which is kind of hope it's not an omen. But you know, the year after that, when 2020, so she died in 1994, and yeah, 1990. Sorry, 94. Yeah, 1994. Man, long time ago. So she died in 1994, and the 1995 was a tough year just because you're dealing with everything, and I'm an only child, so I had to deal with all the estate, and it was just kind of a wild time for me. I think I grew up way too much in a short period of time, but then I finally got my act together, and I think it actually happened in the end of 1995 into 2006 or 1996. I basically said, okay, what can I do that would make my mom proud, right? What can I do that gives me direction, gives me purpose, and would have her looking down on me saying, I'm proud of you, and you know, I'm glad of what you did. And hopefully you can do that for your dad. Good stuff. Yeah, make the most of it. Tough stuff. 2-hour show from Thailand, Andres? Nah. Are you going to Thailand solo? No, I've got a buddy. He's been there for 3 months. He goes there every year. He's actually a good friend of mine who introduced me to Thailand, and big shout out. Who knows? Maybe I'll do the show with Josh. He's the one that I told you that it was all about the travel points. You know, I'm flying business class to Thailand. Unfortunately, I didn't get both legs of my flight for free, but I think that you guys would all agree that getting a business class ticket, round trip to Bangkok, at the busiest time of year for Asia for $900 is probably a good deal. So there we go. Do I already have an appointment with a tailor? I don't, Kenny. My friend there, he's got a tailor lined up. So when I get there, literally, I fly out the 28th. I arrive the 30th at 11 in the afternoon. By 1 o'clock, I'll probably already be at the tailor negotiating a package deal. And then I will probably, we'll be there till New Year's. And then probably January 2nd or 3rd, we'll go to the islands, Koh Tao, Koh Lanta, Koh Phi Phi, Koh Samui, somewhere around there for a few days on the island. And then come back to Bangkok, grab my tailoring, and fly out on the 12th. So, yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, $900 business class, guys, is a screaming deal. Right now, like to find a ticket for even economy to Thailand round trip, you're looking at minimum $1,500. Probably close to, when I was looking a couple weeks ago, it was like $3,000 for economy. So, wild. All right. Ketut, I'm not going for that. Everybody always assumes I'm going there. They're like, oh, then ladyboys. No, I'm going there to relax and enjoy my life. But yes, they are very beautiful. Thank you, Andres. I think that she is. I think my mom's pretty proud of me. I'm hoping that she gives me a good sign that she's proud of me. And there's only one sign she could give me. What is it? Give me the freaking winning lotto numbers. I want $1.5 billion. You will all be very happy if I win $1.5 billion. Of course, we know that we'll take $750 million in cash. After all taxes and everything is done, I will have $400 million. I will publicly create a company that does nothing but follow my wheel strategy. And every week it will show exactly all the trades that are made, the 1% on $100 million, making $1 million a month for all eternity. And I will probably set up multiple, right? Because if you have $400 million, I'd take $100 million, put it aside, do whatever I want with that. $100 million goes into longer term investments in real estate, and then $200 million, one would be our funnel for me to constantly make $1 million a month with $100 million. It's 1% per month. The other one I would do for charity. I would set up the wheel strategy, and I would make sure that all goes to charities that I felt were worthy. So there we go. Let's go. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. I'm going to try my best. So we will, what time is it? Are we at an hour show already? We're close. We're too close to an hour show. I got to run. Yeah, I will do shows Monday, Tuesday for sure. Let me look at the calendar and see if I will do one on Wednesday, but I have a feeling I probably won't. So it's going to be, you guys are going to get almost 3 weeks without me. I know. Sorry. I'm sure you'll survive. Maybe I should just hand over the reins to someone else so that you guys can host the show. Mickey says, if bought strike, you would make $10 million a month. Right, but the problem with was STRC. See, those are tricky ones, because if you look at STRC, it sounds great, right? But you do get wild fluctuations. So this is variable. This one's the variable one. So depending on, it's not giving you 10% per month, Mickey. So right here, let's go and see what the rate of return is. It's giving you 80 cents. So it's giving you 1% per month rate of return, right? So 1% per month would be the rate of return. So yeah, you would be, if I did $100 million worth of this, I'd be making about $1 million a month. The problem is the fluctuations. And they do this with all their products, whether it's STRC or STRK. This one here, STRK, this is 8% forever, but it's also fallen from, $128 down to currently sitting at 82. So there is a decay here point on some of these bad boys. This is a perpetual preferred stock as well. STRC is one of the newer ones they've created. Still holding up rather well, but I would rather do it myself, honestly, Mickey. I find joy in it. Here's the real thing that I would be doing. I have a couple of friends that I think are stuck in let's just say, unhappy positions in life. They're not happy with their job. They're frustrated. I would literally teach them the wheel strategy and say, your job is literally to manage this once a month. And I'm going to pay you a fat salary. I mean, obviously, you're managing a $100 million account. I would manage to get you a fat salary out there. So do you think you should actually sell enough options to make $1 million a month? I think so. You'd have to go for the more expensive stuff, right? The more, and they'd all be cash secured puts in the wheel strategy. You'd have to go for the real expensive stuff. But yeah, you could certainly get out there and do the wheel strategy and make 1% per month. I mean, even if you did something wildly volatile like MicroStrategy, I mean, I could go, have you done a show on how to retire? I have not done a show on how to retire. If I win $1.5 billion tomorrow night, I may do a show on how to retire, although I will probably still do a show. Well, honestly, this is, believe it or not, the fact that I make no money on this, it's still one of the highlights of my day. So there you go. Let's go look at Monday, see what we got from a news perspective. You really have nothing. I mean, honestly, it is just a snooze fest for the 22nd. Let me go all the way to the top here, go to calendar. And we'll show you the 22nd. It's nothing. And there's no earnings yet. I think Bridgestone is the only company really that's reporting earnings on Monday. You can see here for us, there's nothing happening for the U.S. It's a super light week. Most of you should just take the week off. I mean, I would recommend doing that. Just don't overextend yourself. It's going to be a very light week, especially because you have a closed day and a half day. Most people are going to take the whole Christmas week off, and then the week after that is pretty light too. So this is generally where you see volume decline significantly, so be careful out there. But there we go. All right, that's going to do it for me, everybody. I will do a show on Monday for sure, Monday and Tuesday. If you have anything you would like me to discuss, analyze, look at, pontificate on, or do something crazy and strange, email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com or comment down below any of the YouTube videos, and I will get to that on our Monday show. That said, cheers, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Go do something fun. Life is short. I'll see you on Monday.